By the year 2000, snowboarding games had taken hold in the market. Cool Boarders solidified itself as the premier snowboarding franchise, while Nintendo hit the slopes with 1080 snowboarding. Even media titans like ESPN and MTV got in on the action with their own offerings. While snowboarding games at the time included trick mechanics and a more grounded approach, processing power limited the sport's scale and spectacle. Electronic Arts saw an opportunity to improve on these with the next generation of consoles, establishing a label that would focus on the early 2000s aesthetic: over-the-top design, high energy, fast pace, and loud music. EA Sports' Big's first entry, a PlayStation 2 launch title, brought something faster and more exaggerated than what came before, showing how snowboarding games should look and feel going forward. My name is OneHip, and thanks for clicking on this video. For footage, I played SSX on the PC SX2 emulator, upscaled to 4K, and in this video, I'll explore SSX's background, gameplay, level design, soundtrack, and legacy, to discover how the game laid the foundation for an iconic franchise. SSX's development was led by Steve Rechtschaffner, a former US freestyle skier and the inventor of Bordercross. Also known as Snowboard Cross, this intense X Games and Olympic event consists of up to 6 competitors racing down courses, designed to challenge a rider's ability to maintain control under high speeds, elements that would be pivotal to the game's design. With a strong creative background, Steve and his wife decided to move from LA to Vancouver in late '99, where he landed his next role as Vice President, Executive Producer, and Creative Director of EA Canada. Development on SSX for the Sega Dreamcast began shortly after. EA's relationship with Sega was tenuous due to previous business disputes, and combined with a lack of confidence in their newest console, EA shifted focus towards releasing SSX on Sony's upcoming PlayStation 2. They'd provide EA Canada with a large development window and additional resources, like sending their own game engineers to assist. These could be seen as signs of EA's confidence in the potential of this upcoming title, which aimed to offer a fun and larger-than-life arcade experience for casual players. Steve would bring his extensive winter sports experience to this design philosophy. Snowboard Supercross, or SSX, was released alongside several other titles on October 26, 2000, being praised for its graphics, controls, and soundtrack. While there are no official sales figures, momentum was strong enough for EA to swiftly commission a sequel that would expand on the original game's features and personality. 2001's SSX Tricky. Playing the game for the first time, I was blown away by its gameplay, level design, and visuals. Pushing myself out of the starting gate and speeding through the first race checkpoint as my character Moby in Snow Dream, SSX's beginner course, gave me an immediate sense that I was in for something special. Navigating the course wasn't the only thing I needed to consider though. Executing tricks to quickly increase my boost meter, managing this said meter to maintain speed and keep me in the race, and shoving nearby rivals into the snow to fend them off, or being shoved myself if not too careful, made the experience engaging. With all of this to consider, and after finishing outside the top 3 in the final despite winning the previous 2 races, SSX immediately reminded me that there's no event restart option. I'd have to complete Snow Dream's final series again from scratch. To me, this design decision reinforces the tension within each event. This is compounded significantly by the prospect of finishing 4th or worse, often by bailing too many times or reaching the finish line just milliseconds after 3rd place. The game's warm-up mode gave me a low-stakes way to fail and try again. It was in this environment where I spent time learning SSX's precise controls. Initially, I had trouble spinning with the joystick, as it didn't seem to respond well for me, slowing down that sense of speed and exaggeration that I knew SSX was going for. Switching to my controller's D-pad to spin and flip improved on this significantly, and I went from barely completing 360s to nailing backflips and 720s consistently. And this is where the game unlocked for me. With this newfound discovery and confidence, I was able to learn different grabs as well as their tweaked variants, getting into the sequence of pre-wind, jump, spin and grab. a rhythm that requires precise timing to master, but is incredibly rewarding when done consistently. And that consistency was satisfying. Nailing something big like a 360 Misty Flip for the first time helped me realise the game's intention. Grinds for me, however, weren't as approachable, as these required proper positioning and timing to even latch onto and maintain balance, let alone perform a trick. There were times where I was sure that I'd nail a grind after jumping towards it, but I'd often either land next to it or bail, both of which killed my momentum. I realised later on that it was easier to simply glide straight onto the sloped rail and continue my sequence from there, resulting in grind, grab and flip combos for more points. In terms of character control, it may feel a bit sluggish at first, but stat improvements earned throughout the campaign make the characters feel more responsive over time. And even after my playthrough for this video, I saw myself jump back in through World Circuit as another character. Eventually, I took what I'd learned in warm-up and headed back out to Snowdream, where I advanced to the next course, Elysium Alps. Thankfully, finishing on the podium and earning any medal is enough, which makes up for the lack of a restart option. From there I led Moby, earning better stats and boards along the way, to the 6th and final main course, Aloha Ice Jam. Winning the final series felt like a culmination of everything I learned. I won this one by several seconds, instead of by the skin of my teeth like earlier tracks, despite bailing a few times. And whenever I felt like busting out tricks without the threat of other races, show-off mode allowed me to take what I learned as I raced the clock towards the next checkpoint. My World Circuit progression let me experience the eccentric but endearing characters in action, whether they were cheering after landing a huge trick or crying out after a bail. Each one has a unique style and personality, along with a snowboard class and blood type, the latter being a personality trait in Japan, much like zodiac signs in the Western world. Many characters like Moby and Elise would appear in later SSX titles, with the original game introducing players to the series' larger-than-life roster variety. To me, each course felt well designed, like a good mix of real-world tracks and arcade playgrounds. The earlier ones at least looked realistic enough to not lean too much into fantasy, but exaggerated enough to take advantage of the game's speed and fluidity. The balance would tilt in one direction later on, with the pinball-themed Tokyo Megaplex, my favourite course, being a strong example of this, going all out with comically large obstacles to navigate through. It honestly wouldn't look out of place in a Japanese game show. It was a joy to go back to these courses to find well-signed shortcuts and alternate but difficult paths, ones which are high risk but high reward if navigated successfully. Visually, SSX is a looker. The colours pop, the courses look pristine, and the characters are highly detailed. The lack of lag or technical hiccups kept me immersed in its atmosphere, and for a launch title, it already showed what the PS2 was capable of in terms of visuals, which to me is remarkable. And what SSX also delivered on was its bombastic and visceral soundtrack, which fit in with Big's grand scale. Thanks for still being here with me. I hope you're enjoying this one. If you want to see new content, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Thanks for your support as always. And anyway, back to the video. The game's soundtrack has that high energy from the early 2000s that I mentioned earlier, with a strong mix of tracks mostly composed in-house by EA, with contributions from artists like Mixmaster Mike. Its electronic, drum and bass, and big beat playlist captures that era's rave scene, and it's tailored to fit SSX's intense and high-speed gameplay. Hip-hop artist and beatboxer Razel provides radio commentary that hypes you up during events. He responds depending on how well, or not so well, you're doing, making each event feel like a spectacle.
What would your mother think?
The crowd will cheer as you ride past them, and characters will react based on what's happening around them. The main menu even screams big energy, with a female announcer repeating your selection as it echoes along to the game's Big Beat theme song. I felt like Milhouse from The Simpsons when he entered his name in the main menu.
This is great! And all I've done is enter my name!
One hip. SSX introduced players to what EA Sports Big was aiming for, and its atmospheric sound design kept me in the moment. The game sowed the seeds for the rest of the series, and more importantly, EA Sports Big's foundation.
EA Sports Big.
SSX helped establish the PS2's early identity, taking advantage of its advanced processing power to deliver bigger maps, refined visuals, and faster and more fluid gameplay. SSX set itself apart from earlier contemporaries, showing how a snowboarding game should look and feel. Its success was followed with a much-loved series that still looked back on fondly, and while these later entries introduced their own innovations and improvements, SSX was the blueprint that they perfected. It also established the big formula, offering signatures that would be seen in later games, like stylized characters, a larger-than-life atmosphere, arcade-style controls, and loud presentation. SSX surprised me with its excellent gameplay and visuals, and while Tricky and 3 are the most notable games in the series, SSX helped usher in the next generation of gaming. Less forgiving trick timing, and the absence of absurd but fun uber and super uber tricks may not resonate with players who grew up on those games, but SSX is a foundational title that showed what the next generation of gaming was capable of, and it marked the beginning of what was to come.